YouTube. This is Noel, Real Life TV 208. I wanted to give you guys the whole when it all started from the beginning. That's the title of this video. So when I was about 13, 14 years old, I started, listening to different music. I grew up on pretty much the white side of town at this time. It's kind of different when I was growing up. There's not too many black people where I'm from. There ain't too many Asians where I'm from. You're either Mexican or you're white. So my parents, my dad always was a good worker. He was a hustler. He had his shit together. My parents bought a home, right? So I kind of lived on the white side of town, and I played sports. I would play baseball and football. And I used to hang around a lot of white folks, you know what I mean? I would hang around Mexicans too, but I didn't really know nothing about the gang scene. I knew people from the other side, and there are a lot of them in my family. My grandma's, well, she was raised on the north side. My mom was raised on the north side. My dad's from Texas. So anyways, so I'm about 13, 14, and I went to an all-white elementary. So like I said, I just played football. I didn't know nothing about brown and white, none of that shit. So I hit middle school, and I remember it was like a different scene for me. I started seeing more Chicanos, and I was like, oh shit, is this where I belong? Is this who I'm supposed to be hanging out with? So I started kicking it with them more. Well, they listened to different music, you know what I mean? Had a different way about them, had more of a fucking attitude. They would smoke weed, before school. Where, like I said, I'm in 7th grade now. So I just remember them smoking weed, kicking back, and I used to like it, I remember I came home, hey mom, I want to shave my head, and she's like, nah, you're not gonna do that, you know what I mean? She already knew what was up. And I was like, hey, I want to start dressing like this, I wanted to change the kind of clothes I wanted to wear, and that my attitude changed and all that. And my mom was hip to the game already, and my dad, they were like, no, fuck that, you ain't gonna be dressing like that, woo. So I remember I would get clothes, and I would leave school, and then I would go change to look different, you know what I mean? Because I like the gangster style, that was just the way it was. So I started hanging out with the homies, right? And this is probably 7th, 8th grade. I'm starting to get in trouble more. I started getting in fights, but I wasn't a part of the neighborhood yet. I hit 9th grade, the very beginning. Well, I had a girlfriend. Well, her nephew came from Colorado Springs, and me and him became close as hell. He was like my brother. And my girlfriend lived at the time was like the Sureño neighborhood. At that time, there wasn't Sureños, but all of us lived. They all lived right like a block away from each other, just house to house to house. About 15 of us, right? And like I said, I'm about 15. We all started hanging out with each other. Me and the homie Sean, his name was Sean. I got fucking hell love from him. He was like my brother. I kind of quit hanging around with my girlfriend. I was just kicking back with him more, right? We started smoking a lot of weed, going to the homie's house. There was a market called Lone Star Market, and right next door to it was like the homie Sal and his 2 brothers, right? They live right there, and they already were troublemakers. They were from California. They were Sureños. They already were on game with all this shit. They're probably like 3 years older than us. So we used to walk over there, and we just started kicking it with them, smoking weed, right? And I remember this is the summer of 8th grade. I'm going into 9th grade. So me and Sean and the homie Roger, he lived like a block away also. We were kicking it all summer. Our attitudes kind of changed, you know what I mean? So we started hanging around with Sal and his brothers. So freshman year starts, high school. So I'm about, 3 weeks into high school. I'm playing football. Sal's older brother comes through and picks us up and was like, hey, check it out. You ready? We're like, ready. Where's Sean at? I was like, oh, he's right here over here. He's talking to some chick. He's like, hey, go get him. We're going to leave right now, go to the park. I was like, for what? He's like, hey, you've been kicking it with us too much. We're going to put you on now. I was like, what the fuck? I got football practice. He's like, hey, there's no excuses. You're either down or you're not. And I was just kind of put on the spot with the homies. And I was like, fuck it, let's go. So I was like, where are we going? He's like, we're all going to walk right here to fucking Liberty Park. I was like, fuck, all right. So I was walking me, Sean, the homie Moscow, Roger, Sal, the homie Ricky. I'm not going to be putting their other names out there, you know what I mean? But anyway, so We're walking to the park, and I remember we get there finally, and I'm like, fuck, I got football practice in about 30 minutes. My mom's gonna whip my fucking ass, you know what I mean? She finds out I'm not at football practice. So we get to Liberty Park finally, and it was probably like half a mile away from the high school I was at. So we get there, and I remember this car like pulls up, and like four homies get out, and they're fucking G'd up, bro. Like 18, 19, 20 years old, right? That's the first time I met my homie Lazy. He's dead now. Rest in peace, the homie Lazy. You know what I mean? He passed away. So he gets out. He goes, "Hey, who's first?" And I was like, "Fuck it, me." Bam! He just fucking hits me, right? And they start jumping me in. Boom, 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 boom. Then the homie Sean gets jumped in too. Boom, 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 boom. So we're like, fuck. You know, and they shake your hand, they give you love, all that fucking shit that they, you know, that you want in that time of your life. It's respect, and you just want to belong to something. You know what I mean? That's what I think it was more than anything. You just want to belong to something and feel part of. You know what I mean? Because at that time, like I said, I grew up in the white side of town. I didn't know where I belonged in my life. I didn't know if I belonged with the Chicano side of town, or did I belong with, you know, playing sports, being a good kid. I really felt like I was pulled by both sides, you know what I mean? But I ended up going with the Chicano side of my roots, I guess, you know what I mean? And so I went down a different path than everyone else. I just fell off and just started kicking it with them. I had a really good homeboy. His name is Jesse. I grew up with him all my life. I've known him since kindergarten. He was my neighbor. He was my neighbor where we lived. I mean, like literally, I was there every day growing up. I still talk to him to this day. So what's up, Jesse? Much love. They call him Mutt. I just want to say what's up, dog. I even had issues with him. I didn't even want to kick it with him for a while there. You know, like I said, I just wanted to be part of my neighborhood. That's who I kicked it with. That's what I was doing. And so I kind of just shined him off for a while. And like I said, this guy was like my brother. His parents, I used to just walk into his house, you know what I mean, and eat their food and shit, get stoned and kick it. They were just good people. So I remember everything changed. That day I got jumped in, everything, my whole life just changed. Because now I'm dedicated to this, and I no longer cared about anything else. And so I shaved my head, and right when I got jumped in, I still had to go to football practice because I was afraid my mom was gonna kick my ass if she found out what was going on. And my mom would give me haircuts, you know what I mean? Because I was always picky about my hair. So I remember she was giving me my haircut, and I had fucking lumps on my head and fucking scratch right here. You know, my face is kind of lumped up. She's like, "What's going on? What happened to you?" I was like, "Oh, just football practice." And she didn't believe me, but she didn't really say nothing from what I remember. So that was it, you know. And that was when I got jumped in. The next day I go to school, and the homies are right there waiting for me, you know what I mean? And they were like, "Hey, what's up?" You know, they give you the love, whoop de whoop. So they give you a nickname and all that shit, you know. Well, they were like, "Hey, we're gonna bounce, you know. We're gonna go kick it. We got some chicks. Let's go, you know." So we said, "Fuck it, let's bounce." So we took off. And that was the day I got introduced to crystal meth. Well, at that time it was methamphetamines. It was called crank. So I remember we leave, we go to the homie's house, and we're fucking, you know, they had the foil out, and we was like, "What the fuck is this?" They're like, "Hey, fool, just try it, you know." And boom, start smoking meth, you know. And I was like, "Fuck, this shit's crazy." I love the feeling. I love the just fucking amped up. Didn't know, just was on a fucking mission, you know what I mean? And fucking, that was it. My whole life changed from there. I remember I got pretty much into that shit pretty deep, and I ran away. Took off with my cousin, and I remember I always been kind of thick, you know what I mean, kind of chunky and shit. And I just started losing hella weight. My face is all skinny. I started getting tattoos, and I'm like fucking 15, 16 years old, you know what I mean? So I took off for like, I don't remember. In my mind, it was a long time, but in reality, maybe like 3 to 6 months. I don't really know. I just know I was high. I remember calling my mom, my dad one day. My aunt did. I got real sick, man. Like, I'm not gonna get into what it was, but I got really fucking sick. And my mom, my aunt called my mom, was like, "Hey, you need to come pick him up." And I remember my dad. I was so skinny and lost so much weight, cause that shit fucks you up, bro. They picked me up and took me to the ER, right? So I told my mom, "All right, you know, They gave me some antibiotics, whatever the cure was at that time for the medical reason I went in. And I remember I got home that day and I took off again. And the power of that shit was just, it was too strong. Like I was sick. My parents came and got me. I haven't talked to them. I was just running around doing stupid shit. And I'm a fucking teenager, you know what I mean? Staying in motel rooms with fucking older women, chilling with my cousin Eddie, fucking just running amok. Didn't know what the fuck, you know what I mean? And like I said, I was a young kid, you know what I mean? Going house to house, staying with the whole house full of people I didn't even know. Fucking, well, that just became part of my life at that time, you know what I mean? So I tried getting cleaner, go to my mom, I went back to my mom's house, tried going back to school. They didn't want to accept me back in school. I would always leave. So they put me like in this alternative program shit. And, you know, I wasn't feeling that shit. It was just a cubicle with fucking paperwork, you know what I mean? There wasn't no teacher. It was just like troublemakers that was there in school. And I wasn't feeling that shit. So I just fucking bounced, you know what I mean? I ended up getting a girl pregnant, having my first daughter. I had my first daughter. Her mom was a good girl, you know what I mean? She just fucking, I met her I was working at Taco Bell. I met her, fucking got her pregnant. She was a cheerleader at the other high school in my city. Fucking, you know, I kind of messed up her life at that time. I remember telling my mom, and she was like, fuck, what are you gonna do? You know, I didn't even know. I couldn't even take care of myself, and I'm already having a kid. But that's pretty much how the beginning of all this shit happened with me in my life at that time. And so I remember having my daughter, and I was still fucking around. I didn't care. I wasn't, you know, I wasn't doing my thing with her. I would try to make it with her, and fucking just wasn't going good, right? So I told my parents, hey, I want help. I want to get clean. I want to change my life. So they sent me to Texas. Boom. You know, and I get clean there for a few weeks, right? Put on some weight, kick it with my grandma in Texas. I'm going, having fun with my aunts. But I didn't, you know, I didn't like it over there. So I come back over here. I was telling my first baby mama, hey, you know, let's get together. Let's try to make it work. Let's do this. Let's do that. I was lying to her, and she was like, oh, okay, you know. But I was still running the streets, still kicking it with the homies and shit, still getting fucking tweaked out. Like nothing changed. You know what I mean? My mom was a supervisor at a job, and a housekeeping supervisor, and she got me my like first decent job, right? And I was a floor technician there. I would clean carpets, wax floors, you know. It was a nursing home. And I remember, man, I was like, I'd go to work, but I would fucking take shit with me and get high there and fucking just do stupid shit all the fucking time, right? And then I got married. I met my first wife there. This is where I met my first wife. So my mom's hiring this chick, and I meet her, and this chick's all fucking hickeyed up, right? And I didn't even care because I was fucking tweaking. You know, I was like, hey, what's up? Let me introduce myself. You know what I mean? And fucking, we ended up talking, and one thing led to another. She's in Job Corps and going to school. Or she was in Job Corps and working there. And we started kicking it. And I didn't want her to go in Job Corps. We got our first apartment together. And I'm like, what, like 19 now? And I'm going to stop it right there. And I'm going to get into the next part. I'm going to drop another video. Hey, I just want to say thank you for your guys' time. I just want to introduce myself to you guys. Let you get to know how it all started. Just a quick little preview of my younger days. And I'm going to get into the good stuff on how all this led up to me getting indicted by the FBI. Please hit the like button, subscribe, pass the word on. I just want to say thank you to all my new subscribers. Thank you for showing love. I promise you, I'm going to be bringing, as I get better at doing this, I'm learning how to edit my videos, doing thumbnails. I'm trying to put in work on this. I promise you guys, I have a lot of stories I want to tell. I got a lot of content. I just want to get my subscribers up there before I start dropping the real heat. But I just want to say thank you. I appreciate you guys for taking the time and subscribing and wanting to get to know me. If you guys have any questions about me, drop a comment. I will reply to you. I just want to say thank you. I got much love and respect for you. Please get my name out there. I want to really try to do something with this YouTube thing. Like I said, I got a lot of stories I want to tell. I got good things coming. I'm gonna get a better camera. I'm gonna get some different lighting. Just work with me. I'm gonna do a lot of good things coming here. I'm gonna get my channel going good. Just stick with me, and I promise you, you're gonna love these stories. I just want to say thank you. Have a good day. God bless.